seconds. Charles Barkley. Johnson around his man. Drives his Davis scores over Mark Jackson. Stoudemire scores. Rejected. What a defensive effort that time. And Crowder looking for alley. He puts it down. Kevin Durant breaking out the erase. With a long one, looking at long rebound. Finds Booker. This is for the win.
Planeteers, we are here with a very special guest here today. We are here with Gerald Bourguet out of PH&X Suns. We are very excited to have you here with us, brother. How are you doing today, my man?
I'm doing fantastic. How about you?
Doing pretty good over here, man. Doing pretty good over here. I know my man Kevin's been very excited for this. How are you doing over there, Kev?
Oh, man, I'm just fanboying right now. Just to see Gerald on our show, you know. This guy is just like literally like one of the best like analysts out there. Not just in the Suns, you know, Suns community and Suns Phoenix sports. But I think all NBA. How are you not on ESPN?
Truth. That's truth.
I've been told I have a face for radio in the past, so I'm okay with that.
Oh man.
Me too, man. Me too.
But in all honesty, Gerald, you're a journalism guy, and I'm sorry if I miss. I do this sometimes during the show, and sometimes I throw a little like Filipino grammar out there.
Okay, love it.
Forgive me for that, and I'm here excited to know more about you, and of course, an outlook or talk about science in general.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do it. I'm excited.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. So, Gerald, you obviously have an amazing set of credentials underneath yourself. Just reading here, you have a graduate of BA and MA Sports Journalism from Walter Cronkite School at ASU in 2013 and MBA Media credentialed since 2015. I mean, that's incredible, man. I mean, even over here in Australia, I know who Walter Cronkite is.
Yeah. No,
awesome.
it was a lot of fun. I mean, I grew up playing basketball, and at a certain point you kind of realize you're not good enough to continue playing if you want to make a living. And I had a great English teacher in high school who really challenged me and kind of cultivated my love of writing. So it was at that point that I realized, if I can't play in the NBA, I might as well write about it for a living. And so the Walter Cronkite School is one of the best journalism schools in the country. And I was fortunate to go there at a time when I was able to, through the honors college, get my bachelor's and master's in 4 years by taking a lot of extra credits. So it was a very busy 4 years, but a lot of fun. And I learned so much about the industry and what it would take to be a journalist from there. So forever indebted to ASU for that.
Yeah, that's incredible, man. That's incredible.
Yeah. With that being said, Gerald, I just want to ask, because in real, in life, there's like a lot of things that you learn that you don't learn from school, right? But what was the biggest thing that you've learned while on the job already that they didn't teach you in school or in college?
Yeah, it's gonna kind of sound bad, but you have to schmooze a little bit in this industry. It's they teach you in school all the practical, all the technical things, all the ethical guidelines of being a journalist and all that good stuff. But until you're out in the world and kind of building relationships with sources, building that trust, learning how to talk to different people, because there are so many different types of people in the world, and it's your job to be able to find a way to effectively communicate with them. That's one of the things that you can't really learn until you're out in the field doing it yourself. And that's something that took me a while, because I've been on the beat since 2015, in some capacity, but that was mostly just home games. And so I wasn't around the players or the team on a day-to-day basis. And over the last 3 years with PHNX, I've been able to do that and start to develop those relationships, build that trust between, players and coaches and a beat reporter. And it's just night and day difference in terms of the things that you need to understand about people's tendencies, what they like, what they don't like, and just how to phrase questions. Because it's not, you're not trying to sugarcoat things or change what you want to ask, but there is a certain amount of tact in terms of, words that a guy will fixate on and pounce all over if you say one thing wrong or that type of thing. Yeah. So it's a fun learning experience, but that's something that you just can't prepare for until you're out in the real world.
Yeah, well, that's really like a great insight because a lot of people, I think, take the job for granted, like, given that it's sports, and you can like try and interpolate stats and just manipulate it with words, right? Without really knowing that you have to talk to these people and have to know the context of the game or everything before you write something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, we've seen recently our one of our main guys, John Voida, Darth Voida, over at Bright Side of the Sun and Sun's Jam Session, recently got blocked by Dirk, of all people, the Bosnian Beast. So yeah, look, you can make or break your own career, especially in this social media era. It's it's got to be so hard to navigate it. But
it's very different in that, like, a lot of people don't understand this aspect of it, is that for those of us that are on the beat, anything that we write in an article, anything that we say in a podcast, these guys have access to, probably more so now than ever. And anything that you say or write, they will hold you accountable for it because you're going to see them the next day. And if they don't like something that you wrote, it's a matter of making sure that you continue to be true and tell the truth and say and write the things that need to be said and written, while also respecting the fact that, like, these are human beings and, like, they will hold you accountable. So it's kind of making sure that anything you say or write is fair game and that you present it in a way that doesn't get personal, which is something that the normal fan doesn't really worry about as much when they're unleashing their barrage of criticism of whoever on Twitter.
100%. I'd just like to take this opportunity. I called Grayson Allen ugly last week on Sun's Planet Pod. I'd like to run that back. Sorry, Grayson, you're a beautiful man. Please don't hate me. Honestly, if you go to Bright Side of the Sun, you'll see the article where I argued that you're the third best player on this Suns team.
Okay, so there you go.
Please don't hate me, Grayson.
Gerald, do you have something to say about that?
About Grayson Allen?
A long way.
I mean, we
only got a certain amount of time.
I mean, Grayson's got great hair. He's got very nice eyes. His wife is pregnant, so, like, congratulations to them. That's great.
Well, he's obviously not ugly then.
Yeah, no, he's doing great for himself. Grayson's living his best life.
No, I love Grayson Allen, man.
I thought I was talking about being the third best player.
Oh, okay. Well, that's that one. That one, I think Bradley Beal might begrudge you on that one, but he's not far. And I think Tyus might have something to say about that. But
yeah, this is what I love about the Suns media community, man. Everyone's got a different opinion. I put out an article on Brightside about Grayson being the third best. I got like 72% vote or whatever. Mm-hmm. Then Voida come out, did a different, like a retort, and he got like 100% of the vote. So this is the best thing about the Suns, man. It's awesome. It's absolutely awesome.
I didn't mean to cook you there, my friend Hamo.
No, it's all right, man. Go for it.
Terrific. Alrighty. Now, let's go back to the Suns a little bit. Well, we never figured a way anyway. But in those like 2015 up until I think 2017 or 18, those are like the dark years, right? You had, oh man, it just sucks talking about it. But I wanted to know, I was very curious because at the time, I think you were writing for, was it like
Fan-sided.
Fan-sided? Yeah.
Mhm.
But you had the other thing, right? Hoops, some
Hoops Habit. Yeah.
Hoops Habit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which one came first?
So technically, I started writing kind of freelance-ish for Hoops Habit my first semester out of college, and then actually a year or so into it, Hoops Habit got absorbed by Fansided. So I kind of bounced around from Hoops Habit to the main Fansided to Valley of the Suns, which is Fansided's Suns affiliated website, and through Valley of the Suns is how I kind of started covering games as a credential media person.
I see. And this is where, all before the beard, right?
Yes, well before the beard.
Your picture was like, oh, no beard.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's
So
a
going
Phoenix
back,
Suns media person thing, man. We've all got beards, and most of us wear hats.
We're better off for it with the beards. Got to be honest.
Hell yeah.
maybe it's because of all the troubles that the Suns, that we
Yeah.
had to grow our beards. We're going back to that question. Was there like an opportunity for you to go cover like a winning team, or were you offered to be like covered or to?
That's
to be,
an
like,
awesome
beat or-
question.
Yeah, not really, because at the time I was like what I was doing covering the Suns was kind of in addition to my normal job duties for Fansided. So I was, when I first started off with Fansided and worked for Valley of the Suns, I got paid a little bit in page views based on how many page views the site brought in on a month-to-month basis. And then, with Hoops Habit, it was kind of based on how many page views my own articles were bringing in. And at a certain point, they were able to bring me on to like a salaried position. But, I was working 40 hours, writing and editing duty for all these different websites. So a lot of my son's coverage was kind of stuff that I did in addition to, like, in my own time. And they were cool with that. It was kind of a trade-off. Like, you do your normal duties, we'll credential you, you write Suns articles for us every now and then. But no, I never really, I covered a couple of different teams for like Hoops Habit. Like I covered the Warriors for a while, I covered the Bulls for a little bit. But that was all from afar, basically. Never got to go to any of those games or anything. So
wow.
yeah, so it was a great experience, but I never, not even, no, not really. I never got any offers anywhere else.
I see. But
Yeah.
Well,
you have to like,
NBA teams should be ashamed.
oh yeah. And I'd like to think that I read some of those articles. So, hey man,
Appreciate that.
I was there supporting you.
Yeah, you
Unconsciously.
contributed. You contributed to the food fund every month. Appreciate that.
Dude, fun.
I hope the viewers doesn't like take that ad.
No.
And you mentioned earlier that during the college or high school or whatever you played, right?
Yeah.
If you are ever in 2K, what do you think your rating will be?
All right. So we're comparing myself to NBA players on that scale.
Yeah, let's just say it's just the same level of competition.
Okay.
2K,
It's
in that
not about
competition.
comparing yourself to NBA players. It's
Sure.
just about perspective.
Okay.
Where do you
Yeah.
think you would rank?
All right. Gerald in his prime, in his high school days and his intramural college days when he was in shape and could actually run his fat ass up and down the court was probably, I'd give him like a 35. I'd say 35.
How tall are you,
Gerald.
Gerald?
I'm 6'2", so I got
Jesus, you're a giant compared to us.
decent size. I was the lockdown defender in high school. Like that was my thing. We had a team full of seniors. We had like 6 seniors when I was a junior, so I was the guy coming off the bench. But I would close games because of the defensive thing, and we won state that year. So I was pretty good back in the day. But now, man, I'm probably like a 26. if we're putting Gerald in the game now, you better hope he can knock down one corner three, maybe get a couple of defensive possessions. That's all he's going to give you.
So you're the Josh Okogie, man, and everyone needs that. Every team needs that player.
Yeah, that's me. Josh Okogie, just much less athletic and talented at everything.
For me, when I step on the court at this age, I don't know if I can go, like one up and down, and then I think I'd probably sub out.
It's rough, man. It is rough. I'm playing in a rec league now, and it is it's a nice reminder that your COVID took my last like good year of playing in rec leagues away from me. It really did. And then after that, it hasn't been the same since then.
Do you join like because I know when every playoffs like writers around the league like come together and play basketball. I think Shane, your buddy Shane, plays with them.
Yeah, I haven't. There was one time where I didn't. It was my first year, kind of at the end of season session or whatever. And normally after that, that's when the media guys would play, and I had no idea, so I didn't bring good shoes. It was back when I would like dress up in like a long sleeve dress shirt and dress pants and dress shoes. So I didn't have the shoes for it. And then I think the next year they didn't do it. And since then I don't know if they even still do it anymore, or I'm just not getting the invite. I guess I got to ask around for the people that I think are my friends if I'm missing out on this invite. But yeah,
that's great. Just quickly, Kev, I'm going to interject there. You mentioned shoes. What are your favorite shoes to play in if you do play? Because myself, I've got a pair of KD Nike Elite sixes in the OKC colorway, and they are, for me, the perfect basketball shoe. The Book ones are the most comfortable shoe I've ever put on my feet.
Yeah,
like the KD Nike Elites for me just seem perfect. And I'm not even 5'11", dude. I'm just lanky. I've got like a 6'3" wingspan and not even 5'11". It's a joke.
Yeah. No, I mean, you have great options that you gave there. Full disclosure, I have very flat, wide feet. So like most Nike shoes, and growing up, I played in Reeboks because I couldn't play in Nikes because they would mess up the arches of my feet. So I played in Reeboks for most of my life. I had a pair of Nike Hyperdunks, which actually worked pretty well in college. And now I'm in my old man era. I am playing in Nike Air Monarch 4s right now because that is where life has brought me. I'm like borderlining on my New Balance era here. It's it's progressing rapidly.
Yeah. At least you didn't say Puma.
We haven't gotten that bad yet.
My goodness. I'm already in Puma.
God damn it, kid.
It's okay.
I'll
be there in a few years. I probably will.
But you didn't get a pair of Book ones for yourself?
I do have a pair of Book ones. My wife actually got them for me.
Which ones you get?
The I forget what they're called because there's so many different ones. I think they're the Mirage ones, the kind of tan cream colored ones.
The original ones?
Not the orange ones, but like I think they're the original. I can't remember if it was the blue or like the tannish cream ones that first, but
that would
yeah,
I got them too.
She liked those because they can go with pretty much anything. So
anything,
yeah,
they're so comfortable.
They are comfortable.
So comfortable.
Yeah, they're good shoes.
Sweet baby angel shoes.
Yeah,
there you go, Lindsay. Give you a shout
out. I can't get them anywhere here in the Philippines unless I order it online, so it'll take probably like a few months.
6 years.
No, not that. We're pretty progressive over here. Technology has gotten better. We're not some type of like a rural community overall. So
which ones would you go with if you were going to get a pair?
If they'd commercialize that Olympic versions, oh my goodness.
Yeah,
that'd be nice. But
I'd love a pair of the Pythons.
Yeah,
the Pythons would definitely be the go-to shoe.
Very nice.
Because they're the ones that will be commercially available, I think.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so since Hamo is all silent, I'll go ahead and do my next thing. On a serious note here, Gerald. Like, I'm not sure if it was you, but I believe it was you who tweeted it out. Like, there was some I think it was like after like a playoff loss that or just a season loss that some fans are like saying that basically the Phoenix media overall is like weak and not scrutinizing the team. I believe that was you who defended that or squashed that that narrative. So how do you think or could you talk about how the media coverage for home medias has evolved over these years that may be the reason why that's the perception now of of the home team media, basically?
That's a great question, Jeff.
Yeah, no, I think it's funny because you have to bear in mind that like markets are just different. Like we're not these ding dongs in New York and Boston and these big cities that are just going to like talk like that are going to talk over people and interrupt people. And this at the end of the day, this is not that serious. Like I think part of the problem, if there is a problem with Phoenix media not holding Suns people accountable or whatever you want to put in air quotes, which I'm going to do, like it's because a lot of us here have perspective. Like I think me and Kellen and like Dwayne is more of the hard hitting kind of old school journalist who will ask the question and just cut right to the point. I think like for me and Kellen, not that Dwayne doesn't, but we kind of have this perspective that like, okay, this is what went wrong. It's not the end of the world because it's a basketball game and we enjoyed watching the game and covering the game. And it's not a personal thing. For the average fan who's watching this, they are emotionally invested. They have something on the line. If whether they're betting on it, whether they're just passionate about the Suns winning, they have an emotional reaction to when things go right and when things go wrong. And when things go wrong, there is this kind of toxic, usually masculine trait where it's like, we need somebody to blame. We need somebody to be angry about. We've got to rant and rave and say this and that. When in reality, it's like, yeah, this player missed a couple of shots they normally would make, or this player missed a defensive assignment, or this coach should have made a sub here and there. So a lot of times when we ask the questions, we ask it in a way that is not so blunt, because a lot of these guys, and this shouldn't be news to anybody, but a lot of these guys are ultra insane competitors. So when they lose, they don't like to talk about it. They don't like to give fully insightful. Yeah, like I wouldn't like it if every time I messed up writing or made a typo in an article, somebody asked me, so what went wrong there? What were you thinking? Like, why didn't you spell that word correctly? Like it's one of those things where you have to understand how to approach people, because when you do, you're more likely to get the answer that you were looking for, or to answer people's questions that they're going to have after a loss. So it's not about like not holding people accountable. It's about understanding like time and situation and understanding how to approach these guys, because for the most part, they don't want to give you some insightful, helpful answer. And no matter what they say, people are still going to be pissed off anyway. So it's like, and that's the other thing that was kind of, I think that was when I fired back was like, we literally asked the question that you wanted us to ask. We got the answer. You just either didn't see the answer because you're too busy being angry, or you didn't like the answer because, again, you're too busy being angry. So it's one of those things where there has to be a difference between the beat writer and the average fan in terms of how you conduct yourself and how you approach these things, because we're not coming at it from a place of emotion. Like, we're supposed to be objective. So the Suns winning and losing doesn't affect my demeanor or how I do my job. It affects how I approach these guys for sure. But, I'm not going to be sitting there all huffy because Devin Booker missed a game-winning 3 and be asking everybody, why did he miss that? How could he do that? It's just different.
Yeah, and that's the most incredible thing for people like myself and Kevin who are aspiring to be journalists. Obviously, myself and Kevin can't have the access to the team or the players that you do, but it's kind of the question: do you go hard on these guys when they go bad because you want to maintain that relationship? Do you want to, it's got to be a very, very narrow road to navigate. Has to be.
It is. It's a struggle because you do ask the questions that need to be asked, and sometimes they're not pleasant. Like I remember after it was either game 1 or game 2 in Minnesota, and the Suns had just a litany of turnovers, and the Wolves outscored them like 29 to something in points off turnovers or whatever. It was obscene. And I kind of asked, I fumbled over my words, so I didn't ask it well, but I was asking Book like basically what went wrong with the turnovers and the points off turnovers. And he just kind of looked at me like, what do you want me to say? And I was just trying to get to the bottom of what happened. Like, how were there so many turnovers? How did the points off turnovers get that big? And he just was not having any of it because it was a playoff loss. And he knew that was bad and he didn't want to talk about it. Like, Right. I didn't begrudge him for that, but it's one of those things that had to be asked. But nobody ever, gives credit for those instances when that happens and you get dunked on by an NBA player. They only will be like, well, why didn't you ask this? Someone asked this. And it's like, if I asked half the questions that you people in my mentions want me to ask, the team wouldn't respect me. They wouldn't give me any
job.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
oh my gosh, I couldn't imagine that it's that hard, like goodness, I can't be a journalist, Hamo. I'll just write, see what I see in NBA.com, or in Stat News or in basketball reference, and that's what I'm going to write about.
There you go. I mean, it's easier that way. I will say that, but like I said, none of this should discourage you from writing what you need to write, asking the questions you need to ask. But there is a big difference, and especially, like people all season last year were bugging me, like, why don't you ask why Bol isn't playing more? Like, why aren't you asking Frank Vogel and getting on him for Bol not playing more? I'm like, we have asked him. I've tweeted this many times that he says it's like a matchup-based thing. There are some matchups that are good for Bol. There are some that aren't. But that's not a sexy quote that's going to go viral, and that's not something that you guys like to hear. So you kind of just dismiss it and are like, no, but what's the real answer? What's the real answer? That's why. Like, I don't know what.
Yeah, and now it's so much easier to turn around and say Frank Vogel was a tool.
Right.
It's just easier.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, after the fact.
I remember this like interview of Booker. I think that was a bad loss late in the season against the Clippers.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what was the mood in the locker room? And says like, chill, something like that.
Oh yes, yeah, chilling. Mm-hmm.
Chilling.
I do remember that.
It was, and then afterwards there was like a report that Frank Vogel had quite a scene in the locker room, right?
Yes, that was the Clippers game. Yeah,
Clippers game. Ooh, but I couldn't imagine the last few years for you guys, because you have to ask ownership and all of the Sun staff about all these coaching changes, and it's pretty tough.
Yeah, it's not pleasant. There are some times where you don't get the credit for asking the tough. Like, I remember, I'll never forget this. Like, the first day that Matt Ishbia was introduced as the Suns owner, I think I had the second or the third question. I think Kellen asked about
the second, man.
Yeah, I think it was the second or third, and Kellen asked about like the luxury tax stuff. Like, he asked the hard question on the financial side. I asked about Isaiah Thomas, because at the time there were rumors that Isaiah Thomas was going to come on and have a front office role. And like, that's not how you as a journalist want to start off on the right foot with the new owners, by asking about his friend that a lot of people have reasonable concerns about them joining the organ. Like, that's, if I was in it to just make friends and get, inside information in that way, sure as hell wouldn't have asked him about Isaiah Thomas for my first ever question to the man.
Brilliant.
But a lot of people forget about those types of things because they get caught up in the emotion of the game to game, and our memory spans are shorter than ever. I feel like we can barely sit through a 60-second video now without getting distracted by something else, let alone remember what happened 2 weeks ago, a month ago, 30 games ago, whatever it is.
That's so true. That's amazingly true.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, how have you seen the power dynamic? Not power dynamic, but the the humanity dynamic change between ownership recently with Matt Ishbia and Josh Bartelstein. Sorry if I'm saying that wrong.
Mm-hmm.
As a media coverer.
Mm-hmm.
Now, have you seen? I've seen a lot of things about the Ishbia era is just like open. You guys have got a lot more stuff. You got a lot better food. You got a lot
Mm-hmm.
better. You know, it's as good as it sounds on the outside.
It is so far. So far, I have a lot of positive things to say about the change there. And there's a different transparency. Like, obviously, a lot of owners don't talk to the media for exit interviews, like for the final day of the season. They are not as accommodating. They're not as open about what they're trying to do. And to be fair, the 4 pillars that Ishbia brought up in his opening press conference, those are all still things that he references regularly. He's been very consistent on that front. Him and Josh Bartelstein have been great to work with on that side. And like you said, they've made upgrades across the board. I know people are always going to fixate on the state of the roster, the state of the team, winning a championship. That's going to be the be all end all for a lot of people.
Well, it's going to be the priority. Yeah.
Right. And I get it to a degree. Like, that is the most important thing if you're a fan of a sports team. But I would like to remind people that are already like out on Matt Ishbia or think he has this new owner syndrome or whatever, that like he is exactly what every fan base should want their owner to be, in terms of willing to spend millions of dollars of his own money without the return on investment to field the most competitive team possible. And I do think that they were thrown into a really tough situation where you trade for Kevin Durant and months later there are these new luxury tax rules that are going to limit your spending. That couldn't have come at a worse time for Suns fans after decades of watching an owner duck the luxury tax, trade away first round draft picks for cash, and take the cheapest route possible. Like, that's just brutal timing. And there is the human side of things, the employee, the workplace environment side of things that I think gets lost in that. No NBA organization is going to be perfect in that respect, but the Suns are in a much, much better place than they were under Sarver, in terms of people feeling more comfortable being able to go to work, people feeling like this is an environment where we can grow and not be harassed, which is a major change. And just
huge.
The millions that he invested in the new team member campus, just everything that he has done, bringing all-star games for both the Mercury, the Suns, their commitment to the Mercury side of things, bringing in a new GM, a new coach, Kalia Copper, all these changes, building the practice facility, which is absolutely unbelievable. It's better than the Suns one that they have. Like, he cares about winning. He cares about making this organization the peak of any sports organization, just like he has said. And so as much as, at the end of the day, he is a billionaire, he is the owner of a team, there's always going to be that degree of separation or whatever. He is very committed to all the things that he has said, and he's been consistent in trying to make this organization the standard in every facet.
And that's, that it's good to hear, because you see him on the screen, you hear him talking, and you feel like he's a real human. And then you guys had the interview with Josh Bartelstein where he said they're not employees, they're like team members or whatever the name was.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a whole different mental perception, and that's incredible. You know what I mean? They're not just, he just wants to win.
Mm-hmm.
It's so amazing, dude. Yeah, it's just incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely incredible. So it's great to hear that he's, a really good person to talk to off camera. But I've got a really hard-hitting question here for you right now, Gerald.
Sure.
Who is Zewio?
Oh, man, I forgot about that. So that's a throwback. Zewio is the son of a gun who hacked my Twitter account in 2020. And it was a few months or weeks before the election. And I remember that part of it because A, we were all in a dark place at that time. And B, I couldn't get through to anyone on Twitter support because they were so busy dealing with all of the misinformation and fake accounts and everything that was popping up on Twitter at that time leading up to the election here in the US. So
It's that time
CWO,
of the year.
yeah, no, we're getting close. It's a flashback for me a little bit, but
Perfect.
yeah, great stuff over here. But we lots of good things happening stateside these days. But we're however many weeks out from the election, and I get the email that like someone from Philadelphia and then someone from somewhere across the world are like trying to access my account. So I went in there to try and change my password as quickly as possible. I was already locked out. And then I get these messages on Instagram with like a picture of my account. And it's like, we hacked your account. Ha ha ha. Like, you got to pay this much money to get it back, or I'm just going to sell it. And it was from an account named ZWO. And so after a few profanity-laced responses, I told him I was not going to pay his fee. So he sold it, and it wound up selling to someone who I checked it. They deleted all of my tweets, years worth of tweets, unfollowed everybody that I had followed. And then a couple weeks later, I started seeing tweets about some Saudi Arabian currency from my account. It was all in like Arabic. And yeah, that's what happened to my Twitter account. And then eventually they finally got it back so I could get my back because I was verified at the time. It was still my name on there, which was the most infuriating part. But yeah, they gave it back, but they couldn't restore my tweets. They couldn't restore my follows or who I was following or whatever. So I had created a separate account. And yeah, for a couple of weeks there, I was ZWO was what they changed the profile name to. So ZWO was kind of my alter ego from the person who hacked me for a little bit.
Well, I did not understand how deep that went.
Yeah.
Kevin, how dare you bring that up as a question?
No,
Gerald, that's terrible.
No, I mean, I didn't think it was about that, but I know Gerald being hacked because I still follow your other account.
Oh yeah, the burner.
Yeah, the burner account that you have.
Yeah.
So I didn't think it was at all related. So I'm sorry for putting it out.
No, it's okay. It's a funny story now. At the time, I was very pissed off because that whole year was just garbage.
As you will be.
There was the anxiety leading up to the election here. There was just all of that. And then the fact that like I was covering the Suns at that time. So like I was terrified that whoever had hacked me was going to start tweeting stuff out in my name. And all it takes is my credibility is completely gone because you can say, oh, I was hacked, but guess what? That's the go-to response whenever anybody tweets anything unsavory that they actually mean. So it's like, I'm glad that they didn't tweet anything in my name. They kind of did, but it was in a different language and it was weeks later and everybody knew it wasn't me anymore. So
yeah, it's still not cool.
Yeah.
Still not cool
still
at
not.
all.
Yeah.
Still not cool.
No.
All right. Go on,
I
Kev.
wanted to add, sorry, Hamo. Like,
No, go on.
Obviously, right? We've seen all your articles about the Suns, and I just want to ask because we have a question here, Gerald, that says, after Devin Booker was drafted, when did you personally hey, this guy's the real deal? It's gonna be an all-star or like a superstar in the future. But I want to when I was in the shower, I was thinking about how to make it more interesting, right? So the question I come up with is that as good as you are with the numbers and and the stats, how do you separate a player at that kind of age by looking at the numbers and they're on the bad team and then say that, hey, this guy is a real deal?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question because I think for so long, we know this firsthand, so long, Devin Booker was boxed into this place where he was a good stats, bad team guy, or, what was it? A looter in a riot, someone on Twitter called him, which was obscene. But like, I feel like with Devin Booker, it's a marriage of things. Yeah, no, it was crazy. I'll never forget the Sports Illustrated. Is Devin Booker really good?
Actually good.
Yeah, that was great. I think it's a combination of things, and this is something I try to apply across the board whenever I bring in stats into my articles. Is it has to be a marriage of the eye test and what the numbers say, right? Like it can't be one or the other. They both ideally will go hand in hand, and sometimes you'll see something that you think is real, and you look at the numbers, and maybe it's slightly different, or vice versa. But Devin Booker, it was only a couple of years in that I was like, yeah, this kid is going to be legit. Maybe not. I didn't know what the ceiling would be for him. Like, I didn't know, could he be the best player on a finals team, on a championship team? I don't know that. But I knew early on just the benchmarks that he was hitting in terms of, only like LeBron, Kevin Durant, so-and-so have scored this many points before this age, that type of thing. You're hearing, Kobe, Dwayne Wade, LeBron James saying this guy's the real deal. This guy is next, all those types of things. And you're seeing him start to put together these scoring displays, even before the 70-point game and whatnot. You kind of got the sense that this kid is the real deal. And not just because of that, but because of the stories you were hearing about him, the way that Earl Watson was 100% convinced that this was going to be Devin Booker's team. The stories you hear coming out of practices that Devin Booker just kind of whipped Elie Okobo's ass for 30 minutes after practice just because he was in front of him, basically. And the vets too. You heard it from Tyson Chandler. You heard it from guys like that were saying yeah, this dude is legit. And the way that he carried himself too. Even his first day pre-draft workout, he carries himself like a freaking 30-year-old, basically, at the age of 18. And he always has. He's always been so much more mature.
So stoic.
Yeah, he is. He's stoic and he's effortlessly cool because he's just so laid back, but also so serious about his craft. It's the weirdest thing. But
it's the strangest juxtaposition, isn't it?
Yes,
it's
it
just
is.
He's so chill, so demure, and then all of a sudden just pow.
Right. And I hate this word because it's been overused over the last year, but Devin Booker does have a certain aura about him. It's
a very overused word at the moment, but yes, you're 100% correct. He's always had that aura. KD's got that shit too.
Yep.
Beal, Allen, Bowl. There's a lot of guys that got that, but Booker's got that extra special aura.
You combine all the stuff that you said, and then you add that deep voice of his.
Yeah.
Oh goodness.
Yeah. No, he is the real deal. He is face of the franchise material, and there's a reason that anytime Devin Booker gets slandered, the whole city of Phoenix is ready to go to bat for him on Twitter. He is.
Yeah, I'll fly over there and fight people.
Right, exactly.
Oh gosh, well, definitely. I remember. It's funny you mentioned Elie Okobo. I remember this one game. It was the Igor Kokoshkov era, wherein Elie commits a turnover, and then look back to Kokoshkov and says, "Get his ass out of here," or something like that.
Yep, 100%. And Book loved Elie Okobo, but he's trying to win when he's out there, and for years they put him with guys that were not going to help him win. So
just absolute trash.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well, not all of them absolute trash, but yeah, he wasn't surrounded. He wasn't surrounded with the best players.
Yeah. It was recycling at best.
100%. So, one of the questions I'd love to ask you personally, Gerald, is what are some of the most unforgettable moments that you've experienced while covering games, whether it be in person, because obviously you're the guy that goes to the games to cover for PHNX Sports. Were media allowed in the bubble? Were you there when Booker did the lay down?
No, I was covering that from the comfort of my couch. I could have potentially gone, but at that time I was a little too paranoid about the coronavirus and had, a lot of people had questions about whether the bubble would actually work, whether it'd be safe. I'm glad that it did for the people that were able to go. I probably would have had to ask for some fundraising in order to go. But no, I was covering that from the comfort of my couch. And I think for me, even as someone objectively covering the team, there are certain moments where even if you're not in a crowded arena, to get that full effect, you can just feel that that's
you can feel it.
And that's what it was for all of us, I think, around the world, especially in one of our darkest, a lot of people's darkest times. For Suns fans, that year was a little bit more tolerable because of that bubble run, because of that shot, because of Monty Williams, post-game speech after they went 8-0. That gave you hope. And as cheesy as it sounds, and as meaningless ultimately as it sounds, while the world is dealing with this virus that's killing people, that's making people sick, it did provide some relief for a lot of us. And so that shot was a turning point for the franchise, for this current chapter that we're in. It was a I'm him moment for Devin Booker personally. And for me covering the team, it was a revelation, like, oh, this is what it feels like to write things and people actually want to read them. Like, that was
positive things.
Yes.
Yeah, it was incredible watching the bubble, man. And that's really awesome. You share your feelings about the coronavirus and what was happening, because obviously all three of us are in 3 different countries, so it was different for all of us. But
right,
the lay down shot at the end of it, that's how my pair of book ones, I actually won them.
Oh, really?
And it was a thing where say your best Devin Booker memory kind of thing. And I wrote something like the lay down shot where he looked up and they put his head down, and it was like Thanos where he said, "I can rest now."
Right.
And that's all it was. And I won the shoes.
Yeah. So that's amazing.
And that's what everyone around the world felt at that time.
Yeah.
And you're right. It was a very dark time for a lot of people, man. Coronavirus all around the world, COVID, whatever you want to call it, was just bringing everyone down. And that, as Suns fans, you nailed it, dude. As Suns fans, that bubble run really just, I think, uplifted a lot of people out of that yuckiness, out of that muck.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really, really special for Suns fans, man. And so like that, I don't know what to say about that, dude. You really just struck a chord with me, man.
Good. I'm glad. That's the goal. And for me, it was a memorable moment, even though I wasn't there, like, covering it live. Like, to go back to your question about best moments on the job, man, there were probably 10 different ones from that finals run, because I was at every home game for that. Wasn't on the road. But it felt like every single game, like that first game, because remember, going into that series, like, the Suns were not favored, even though they were the 2 seed going against the 7-seeded Lakers. It was the Suns' first playoff game since 2010. So it had been 11 years, and it was the first event. Well, it was like the first events coming out of COVID that you could go to,
right,
that fans were allowed in. There has not been, and there probably won't be, an environment like that I see again in my lifetime, just because all of these different factors converging, all of this excitement over Devin Booker's first playoff game, the fact that it's Suns versus Lakers, there were just organic chants breaking out in pregame, to the point where they were dimming the music during warmups to let the chants breathe and sound off. Just incredible stuff. And then, Chris Paul goes down and the whole complexion of the series changes. Devin Booker goes off for 46 to close them out. You have the Torrey Craig alley-oop against the Denver Nuggets. You've got Chris Paul closing out the Clippers on the road. You got Devin Booker's, 40-point triple-double without Chris Paul. You've got the Valley Oop, which is still the coolest thing that I've ever covered. There have just been so many good moments over the years that it's impossible to narrow them all down. But I will say, like, there was a time from 2015 to about 2019 where it was probably like 2018 where I was like, I don't know if I want to keep doing this, because the Suns were an embarrassment. They were G League talent. Their organization was toxic behind the scenes. There was that season they got, I think it was their 50th season. They almost lost by 50 in the home opener to the Portland Trailblazers. And then 2 games later, it was I Don't Want to Be Here from Eric Bledsoe, because they got beat by like 50 by the Clippers. Their coach gets fired. I'm telling people, I get to cover the Suns. This is my dream job. And they ask me, what are you doing for a living? I cover the Suns. They're like, oh, I'm sorry. That must be rough.
Oh my gosh.
That shouldn't be the reaction. That's not the response I was looking for.
Ouch.
But I'm glad
Ouch,
I'm
man.
glad I stuck with it, because there have been so many great memories since
Hell
then.
yeah.
Being able to cover Devin Booker's entire career here in Phoenix has been special too.
Were you there for Al McCoy's last sign off?
I was, yes, I was. And that was a special moment there. I mean, his Ring of Honor ceremony was special. Having all of those legends out there to be witness. I don't think Devin Booker played that game, but he was out there on the court for that as well. And just the unanimous consensus around Al McCoy is how special he was and how generous he is with his time. He still has so many people on the broadcasting side, so many national broadcasters, so many players that all develop relationships with him beyond what you see from the local broadcaster in most places. So that was really special too.
Yeah,
There was this video, right, of all the national voices, like Mike Breen.
Yeah.
Sending their love to Al McCoy.
Bang.
It's really special.
Yeah, absolutely. It was really cool.
Yeah, no, that he deserves the best send off, because he's been, especially I'm going to speak for Fallen Founder Jake, our normal co-host, growing up in Iowa. The only way he was able to hear Suns games was through Al McCoy on the radio. And, that's what we're all about here at Suns Planet is bringing it all together.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I mean that's super awesome. You're able there to experience it, man. I've got a question for you though.
Sure.
So being around the players that much, who's the funniest player in terms of just jovial, have a good who's the funniest player on the Suns team at the moment?
Ooh, at the moment, let's see. I mean, obviously, we're going to see with some of the new guys. I feel like Monte Morris he's just such a happy and positive dude that's going to be, he might be a contender. But I would probably have to give it to Nurk for right now. He's probably the most joking, jovial kind of guy. KD and Book are more serious, more, because they're Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. That comes with territory.
We're talking about the Bosnian Beast being the funniest, right?
Either him or Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal is actually really great to talk to, and I kind of wish he wasn't injured so much last year, so we could have gotten to talk to him more. But people are going to hold this against him, but he is also one of those people that has the perspective of yes, I'm blessed to play in the NBA for millions of dollars, but basketball does not define me. There are much more important things, and I think that can rub some people the wrong way, but his perspective is kind of refreshing, to be honest with you.
Yeah, man, I love Nurk. I absolutely love Nurk. And you know what? Just because I'm actually in control, let's do it. Where is it? Here we go.
Here goes a flash, savage slam dunk, rebound with the sound of this welcome funk. Bossy and beast.
Love it. That's fantastic.
I love that drop, man.
Every
I
time we do it,
absolutely love it.
Drop,
That's
so I
great.
see Hamo putting it on.
Yep. Get that little
Get your wiggle on.
Serbian dance on.
There you go.
Armenian dance going. I love it. Absolutely love it.
But before we go back to current, situation of the Suns, I just have one last question about the work, Gerald.
Sure.
Obviously, it's you. Well, okay. Let me rephrase. Sorry.
No, you're good.
I want to, if you have some tips, to go with to go out there to aspiring writers like myself, Hamo. What do you think? Let's do two-pronged questions. So, what do you think is going to be what's a good sports journalism to you, and how do you, when you write, how do you keep your audience, let's say, or readers be interested, or how do you find that balance for them to keep on reading when you talk about the numbers?
Sure. I mean, that might be a better question for someone else, because some of my stuff gets a little long-winded, and that's honestly, it's one of those things that I'm trying to work on. But no, it's a great question.
What Kev's trying to say, sorry, not to cut you off, Gerald, but what Kev's trying to say is you have an amazing way of turning advanced stats into being a very readable and easy to
Layman's terms, basically.
Layman's terms, yeah. You make a very, very, really, really good way of turning the important stuff into something that a dumbass like myself can read. So is that something that you've learned, or is that just a natural talent that you have, man? Well, how does that come about?
Well, thank you, first of all. It is something that takes some practice for sure, because there is a lot of information out there. And some of the advanced stats, it's just a matter of, paying the website and understanding them. And that's the thing, is I always push back when people say, I hate analytics. Analytics ruin the game. Analytics are just an additional way to supplement what we're seeing on the court. And I said, they should go hand in hand with the eye test. But a lot of people shy away from analytics because they don't understand. And it doesn't have to be, advanced calculus that we're looking at here. A lot of these things, I think if people just understood what the stat meant, or how it's calculated even, I feel like they would be more willing to listen. So that is a goal, is to try and, bring these stats, but present them in a way that's more accessible, because you start rattling off all these advanced terms. It does turn some people off to what you're saying or what you're writing. So I do try to focus on that and make it so that, okay, if I'm going to include a stat, I'm also going to include some video evidence so you can see exactly what I'm talking about and know that I'm not just, some nerd with an Excel spreadsheet pulling numbers out of the thin air. I want it to be something that's accessible for anybody that's watching the sport and trying to understand it better, so that you can explain the things that you see on the court. But in terms of being a good, writer or sports journalist, or giving advice there, the main tenets of journalism, pursue the truth, be a watchdog, minimize harm. Those things are all important. And I think people lose track of a lot of those now, because anybody with a camera phone can basically be a journalist in some capacity.
Yeah.
It's not about being first all the time. It is about being right and being accurate. And that's something that also gets lost in this age, where anyone can post anything on Twitter with the click of a button. But I do think
that's a damn good call there, man. It's not about being first. It's about being right.
Right.
That is the main takeaway right now.
Right. There is a timeliness element to it. You want to be as quick as you can, but you also need to be thorough. Especially as someone who, edits a lot of his own stuff. It's important to catch all of those potential mistakes and double check everything. There was the phrase that I learned in the journalism school that, in terms of making sure you get enough sources and get your information right. If your mother tells you that she loves you, get a second source. You need to make sure that everything that you are hearing is verified somewhere else too, because there are biases out there that you have to be aware of. Sorry, Hamo, I didn't mean to break you with that. But it's a sad way to look at your family, but a great way to look at journalism. Uh,
Oh my goodness.
Oh my god, man, that's brilliant. I love it.
yeah. But no, it's no, it is important to bear in mind though, because you have to know as a journalist that what you're being told, even if it's from a player or a coach, is coming with a certain agenda. It's coming with one perspective. And it's always important to get the other perspective when you can, to get multiple voices. And that's an important
Narratives.
thing. Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
So
multiple narratives, man. That's
Yeah.
but
But
and you do an incredible job, man. You
Thank
really
you.
do.
appreciate that.
No, I'm not.
That-
I'm not trying to suck up, but you really do.
That's actually like where, sorry, that's actually where people gets lost in Twitter.
Mhm.
Like when they like lean on some certain narratives and just believe what they want to believe.
Right.
Right.
It's all about
Uh,
pushing an agenda a lot of times. A lot of people
Wow.
don't want to learn. They want to just be right and sound off on Twitter, honestly.
That is true. When you mentioned like it's not about first, I remember there was, Woj versus Shams all of a sudden.
Mhm.
And what do you think? Whose fault was it when the Suns thought they were getting the other Brooks?
Oh, God. That's a great question. And honestly, I wish I knew the answer to that. I think there was some confusion on the line I think it was the Wizards side at that time. I think they had been talking about one Brooks and they interpreted it as the other Brooks. So I think the fall, as much as I think it was the Suns that kind of came out looking dumb for that, but I think it was the Wizards or the Grizzlies' fault. I can't remember who it was, but yeah, that
Oh, my
was
goodness.
that was a good time.
The Suns took the hard hit down.
They
on
did.
that one.
They did.
Just because of who their GM was. at that
Yes.
point.
Yes.
Yeah,
100%.
the dark days. Look, Gerald, it's been a pleasure with you, mate. But we've got a couple more things we're going to roll out before we close it out here.
Sure.
I'd like to, overall, with this current Phoenix Suns roster, with the additions of point guards, with the re-signings of the stalwarts that we have, where do you place the Phoenix Suns in terms of predictions for this season in terms of the Western Conference?
Yeah, I think come playoff time is where I'm going to have the most questions. I think regular season, if you look at what Bud's been able to do in Atlanta, in Milwaukee, he's taken solid talent and churned out 50, 55, 60 win seasons pretty frequently. So I do think the Suns are going to be, as long as they can stay reasonably healthy with that big three and with the role players, I think they're going to be probably a top 3-4 seed in the West. I do think come playoff time, like we've seen this in recent years too, like your regular season success is not as indicative of what to expect in the playoff. We know this firsthand from 2022, unfortunately. But I think it's all going to come down to matchups. And I said this last year as well. And I thought the Timberwolves were a good matchup, and that did not bear fruit in any way, shape, or form. So
Just
Can't
because of
always
the
be right, man.
regular
Yeah,
season results,
no.
right?
no, I was very wrong about them. But it is going to matter, especially when you have a center like Nurk, who against maybe small ball lineups from a Dallas or from an OKC can really put you in a world of hurt pretty quickly. So I think they'll probably, I think I have them around 54, 55 wins, probably like the 3 or the 4 seed in the West. And I think probably, well, man, I would like to say conference finals. I'd like to say they reach the conference finals, but I truly don't know, because
None of us do.
yeah, they could get a bad first round matchup and it could be over in the first round again. I don't think they'll get swept again, but and I think they will win a playoff series or two just with the talent that they have and the upgrades they made over the summer on and off the court. But that's probably where I'm leaning right now. The West is a bloodbath, man. Like Dallas, Minnesota, OKC, Denver, I could see all of them or Phoenix winning the West, and you could probably throw a dark horse in there or two as well.
But we don't need to win the West. We just need to be in a position to take out the West. Like, we
Right.
don't need to be the number 1 seed in the
Mhm.
West, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But yeah, so do you think we're in a better overall position than what we were at the end of last season?
I think so. I think obviously you get the vibes bump from the Olympic run and all of that good stuff. I think that was low key a little bit critical for Book and KD because
Huge.
go back to April, the narratives about them the narratives about them were very, very different than they are, here in September. I think that's key. I think they have made upgrades. I didn't think that they needed a point guard, but I think that having 2 point guards definitely brings some positive benefits to the table. Hopefully Bradley Beal's healthier. Hopefully Grayson Allen just eats off the bench as a 6th man. And hopefully the rookies inject some youthful exuberance, because basically it was just Bol that would come in and there'd be an electricity to it. We haven't had a rookie come in and contribute and bring that same type of energy in a while. And I think that will actually help with some of the bench energy too.
Yeah,
Bol
was you have some youth there. On the other day, on the previous pods that you have with PHNX, Gerald, I saw you, or I watched that episode, and I saw you just argue your hat off about Bradley Beal not coming off the bench.
Yeah,
they were like hammering you in the comments. Espo, Lindsay, was it Lindsay?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Man. All points are valid, actually, but you don't sit the guy off the bench or put a guy off the bench. You're paying him $50.
Not when you're paying him that much money.
Yeah. And he's your 3rd best player. You got to maximize it right from the beginning.
4th.
Yeah. even taking the money out of the equation, even taking the fact that you would undoubtedly piss him off if you tried to talk him into a bench role because he waived his no trade clause to come here and play for you.
Totally.
You don't bench that guy that puts up 18, 5, and 4 on incredible efficiency in a down year. Like, I think he's going to be better. I don't think the stats are going to be substantially better, like in the scoring column, because at the end of the day, the ball is going to be in Tyus's hands and Book's hands and KD's hands. But I think he's going to have a much better season and remind people that he's still Bradley Beal.
Yeah, he'll be able to be that off-ball kind of scorer that, we knew from when he was at the Washington Wizards.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's, there's a lot of upsides coming into this season. We've got the additions, Tyus Jones, Monty Morris, Mason Plumlee. There's a lot of guys that, the roster is completely changed coming into, well, not completely, but, changed for a big reason coming into this season. So, yeah, I'm really hopeful with the Phoenix Suns this season. I reckon we can make a good play for the finals. So,
I think last, and just to add some point, I'm sorry, Hamo. I think you're
go for it, man.
I think for last year, what we saw are some of the old plays that we had from the Monty days, because Kevin Young was there, and Kevin Young, as great as he is, he
took his money and ran.
No,
he did.
What I was trying to say is that some of those plays that we've seen in the Monty years have already been like well scouted by teams before, and then you add on like a defensive coach, then it wasn't the right mix for me. And I think for a majority of Suns fans as well, because you have these like offensive powers on your team, and then you have a defensive coach. So I'm not sure what was going on in those huddles, those timeouts, of who really is like in charge in terms of like the plays. But I'm just excited right now for Coach Bud, because he's a well-balanced coach, I think, and the Suns are going to play random.
Yeah, no, they are. They're going to play random. They're going to hopefully get up a lot more threes than they have been in recent years.
Oh, yeah. Of course,
And hopefully be just, you just have to be like top 10, top 15 in defense. And hopefully you will have the elite offense that we were hoping to see last year.
Hell yeah, man. I mean, Bud's system, and I really feel Coach Buds, whatever we're calling him, his system is really, really going to fit this team. They've had enough time to work together and bring this home for us.
Yeah,
I really think.
I think on the recent article that you wrote, Gerald, about the concerns, right? Like 5 concerns, I think it was about the Suns. What really stuck to me was the the center rotation and as well as the 3-point shooting. So obviously the 3-point shooting has been like an issue for the past few seasons now, right? Even in the Monty days, they weren't taking enough like threes as a pure mid range. But I think what's interesting is the center position. I mean, they have that open roster spot that they could use to like try and bolster that even more. And there is like a Twitter talk going on that, can the Suns really win a championship with a Nurkic out there? So I think it's a valid question with all of the stuff that we have seen from him in the season, last season, like the way he finishes at the rim and all that stuff. But I'm just trying to pick your brain out here. Like, what do you think about Nurk?
Yeah, I mean, Nurk is tough for me because I think he's better than people give him credit for, but I also think that he is a liability in some respects. Like the fact that he was played off the court in last year's playoff series, which was theoretically a good matchup for him, like more traditional centers, a Rudy Gobert type of guy who doesn't space the floor, a team that doesn't really go small. They always have one of their 3 centers on the court. That should have been a good matchup for him. And he got played off the court to the point that like midway through game 4, they're like, well, we got to go small. And honestly, it came too late in the series a little bit, which is crazy by game 4. So I am a little bit worried about that. I do think defensively, he was better than people gave him credit for. Yeah. He still has his flaws. Like he's not the most fleet-footed guy, but
we all do.
Yeah, we all do. And he was executing what Frank Vogel wanted him to execute to the best of his abilities. I will say that he was trying. Offensively is where I had more concern with the finishing. And, if you can't finish at the rim, you better be able to be a floor spacer. He wasn't that either. So that and the turnovers and some of the offensive fouls were a little bit of a concern. But I do think this year will be a little bit mitigated because he's got more spacing around him than he has. He has a more traditional point guard. Because guess what? Good luck defending a Tyus Jones Nurkic pick and roll when you've got Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, and Devin Booker on the wings. Like that's, and he's an elite screen setter. He's an elite rebounder. He doesn't get enough credit for those things. So I think by minimizing his role as kind of this offensive hub and secondary playmaker, that'll cut down on some of the turnovers too. And I'm interested to see if Bud has him shooting some threes because it was only a couple of seasons ago. He was taking about 2.3 a game. Shot 36%. You get that out of Nurk, like that completely changes the complexion of your offense in a positive way.
Yeah, that's what the people are saying is like turn him into Brook Lopez and Suns are set.
Right. Yeah. I'll be honest. I don't know if a Brook Lopez or an Al Horford type jump is coming, but you look at those guys before Bud and after Bud.
Hell yeah.
There's a difference there.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. You're spot on there. Well, look, we're going to wrap things up here. Personally, Gerald, thank you so much for coming on. It's been a long time, been a long fan. Kevin's a super fangirl. We spoke about that. What you guys are doing at PHNX is amazing. The coverage that you're giving Suns fans like myself, like Kevin, like all of Suns Planet is just incredible. And we thank you very much. And it's amazing you're in a position to be able to bring that to us. So yeah, on behalf of all Phoenix Suns fans, we thank you.
Thank you guys. That's too kind, but I really do appreciate it. It means a lot. And I was happy to hop on. This was a lot of fun.
No, it did. It's just truth, man. It's just truth. You guys do an amazing job. So in closing out, I've mentioned where you're from, Gerald. If you want to throw out a Twitter handle or anything, if people want to come argue with you on Twitter, or where can the people find you going forward if they've enjoyed this episode?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. You can find my written work over at gophnx.com. I'm on our PHNX Suns podcast, which is 5 days a week. You can get it on YouTube or Spotify, all the places where you get your pods. And then if you want, you can follow the account PHNX Suns or PHNX_Suns, or you can follow me on Twitter at Gerald Bourguet. if you like to argue. But just so you know, if you argue with me, I will dunk on you occasionally if you come at me the wrong way. So just know this.
He will break you. He will break you. People.
But usually in a lighthearted way.
How does that happen? How does that
Just well,
How
see,
is
well, people always assume that I'm like so mad when I respond to these people on Twitter, and I'm just kind of like having fun with it. So I'm lighthearted. The joke might not be.
It depends on the people or the person who's receiving it.
It's their problem, isn't it? That's their problem.
Yeah.
Kevin, where can the people find you?
Oh gosh. Well, first of all, I want to turn fanboy right now and thank Gerald for being here with us today. And from the moment that he said yes, I couldn't sleep. I was really looking forward to this day. I'm going to tell you folks. I'm going to tell you folks, like 5 or 20 minutes before this recording happened, I was saying to him, "Oh my gosh, I'm so nervous. I don't think I can put out a word." But it's as good as it's going to get from me, as always, in all episodes. And Gerald, I want to thank you for everything by responding to me. I think it was late at night when you responded, and you didn't forget about me because, like I said in our chats, the last time we spoke was 2018, I think.
Yeah.
And then you go, "Yo, what's up, Kevin? Oh, hey, I'm riding for the bright side now. Look at me. I'm still a nobody." Kidding. But again,
oh dear.
You can find me at I'm Kevin PS. And hey, you guys, we have as well our own Twitter at Suns Planet Pod and Spotify. You can find us this episode on YouTube. It'll be uploaded on Spotify. It'll be in Brightside as well, the write-up. And please do support us. I forgot to mention prior to this recording that you guys can buy us a coffee, or not a coffee, but beers to support us. Let us chug it down, fellas.
There you go.
Oh yes, no, we got our first buy us a beer from a very good friend of the pod. I won't name him just because he might not like it, but we got this gentleman bought us each a beer, which is incredible. It's very nice.
Thanks so much.
Very nice. But
can I say one more thing before we go?
Please.
Because Kevin, I know you were joking about the whole "I'm still a nobody" type thing, but I didn't include this in my advice to people. But one of the biggest things in this industry is to understand that every single person, as a journalist that you talk to, is a human being, and whether they are an NBA player or some random fan on Twitter who's yelling at you, they could just be having a horrible, horrible day. And so I want you guys to know that it was a pleasure coming on and talking Suns basketball with you, because one of the biggest things that I try to do in my work, and that I think all of us should try to do in our work, is uplift other people and just enjoy the sport, because at the end of the day, it's basketball. There are much larger things in this life that we need to worry about. And these moments of connection that you have with people from 3 different countries across the world are really beautiful and special when you think about it. So my biggest advice to people coming into this industry: treat every single person that you encounter, that you ask questions, with the dignity, respect that they deserve. Make them feel valued, because it does make a difference, and it makes you feel better too.
Yeah.
My Lord, Sun's Planet, if there was ever a mantra that we need to go by, that was it. That was it. This is what we try and do at Suns Planet, man. It's all just about connecting. It's all about community. It's all about just embracing fellow Phoenix Suns fans. And Gerald, you have completely embraced that today, and I cannot thank you enough. So,
thank you.
Closing out, thank you very much, guys. You can find me at Twitter on Sir Hamo. Just
we're
writing
writing
Suns.
Just
over at Brightside. There's a lot of brilliant writers over at Brightside at the moment, but keep following us, guys. We're gonna bring you the best content we can, and you might not have seen it here, Gerald, but I'm gonna lead you with our outro. So take it away, Al McCoy.
Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, stay with us as the Suns get set to shine here on their home court.
Here's Perry. Cigar Hurd. Here's the jump shot. Good! It's good!
Al McCoy with you courtside. Comes up a 3.
Shoots. He ties it. AD happy birthday! Yeah! I know it's all happy birthday, baby!
Here's Cameron Payne out on top. Durant, three-pointer straight away. I just want to take this opportunity to thank everyone in this arena this afternoon, to all of those that are watching and listening on radio and TV. Thank you for allowing me to tell the story of the Suns for 51 great years. That pretty much wraps things up here. And for one last time, this is Al McCoy saying thanks for being there. Thanks for being with us tonight. And from the Footprint Center here in downtown Phoenix, we'll just say so long